Cool.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Will Kern from Endless Events here, and today we are talking about best practices when it comes to hiring freelancers and independent contractors. You may have heard that term 1099 or W-2, and if you have no idea what we're talking about, either you don't live in the United States or you're about to learn a lot about what this is all about and why this isn't so important. Before we jump in, I have a confession to make. I'm extremely passionate about this topic, written a lot of articles about this topic as well, and it is definitely one that I have written about and started some flame wars over because it is definitely so controversial. So make sure that you join us in the chat. Feel you're out your side. We got Jasmine Harris in the chat joining us already saying, hey, thank you so much for joining us. And let's just, we have to go. We have to jump right on into this week's episodes. Let's get started.
It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of #EventIcons,
presented by Endless Events.
the show where you get to ask the icons of the events industry anything. Use the question panel on the webinar to submit your questions. Or you can hop on Twitter. Submit your questions with #EventIcons.
We'll be answering your questions live during the entire show.
Before we get started, the more people we have watching, the better conversation we can have. So please help share #EventIcons on Twitter and Facebook.
Just tell your friends to watch at www.event-icons.com.
Now, without any further delay, this is #EventIcons.
All right, so today I'm joined by three lovely ladies in the house. Noha, Salah, Kelsey Crane, and Krista Hazelwood. Hazelwood. Oh my gosh, I was so close. I was so close. These lovely ladies are amazing. They've done their prep work. They are ready to talk about this in depth, so you will not be disappointed when it comes to this week's episode. So first person I have to introduce is Noha Salah. Noha is the co-founder of the EventWork, not to be confused with the EventWorks, the EventWork, which is an awesome platform designed to connect production companies with production staff, essentially, if I got that right, Noha. And she is like absolutely amazing, and I'm gonna try to breeze through these intros really fast because there's just so much content to cover. So we have to welcome to the show for first time ever, Noha Salah.
Thank you. Hello.
Awesome. All right, next up, Kelsey Crane, who is the founder and owner of Quench Staffing. They are an awesome event staffing company. So literally, you need to put someone to hand out product or talk to a customer. Quench is definitely the go-to when it comes to this sort of stuff. So really, really excited because they hire all their staff on W-2 basis. So it'll be really interesting to see what's very controversial in the event staffing world, the W-2 model. It's gonna be awesome to see her perspective as well. So Kelsey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right. Also joining us today is Krista Hazelwood. Krista is also with Quench Staffing. She's a COO, so she's the one in charge of managing that gigantic event staff. So you have to hear her war stories for sure, because I've known a bunch of CEOs of event staffing companies, and they are always the unsung hero of the event staffing company. Definitely it's going to be awesome to hear, because your perspective of hiring people, managing it, making sure the checks get out on time, it's going to be really, really cool to see for sure. Yes. So thank you so much, Krista, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So I want to jump into the questions so you guys can all tell your stories about what got you in the events industry. So I'm going to go reverse and go backwards. So Krista, can you tell us a little bit about what got you into the events industry and what got you paired up with Kelsey when it comes to working at Quench?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of us kind of in our younger age are exposed to promotions and marketing and brand jobs. And so very early on, before I moved out to LA, I kind of got started with some freelance work, being a promo model myself. And then after years of being in LA, Kelsey and I had worked together at at a restaurant actually, and we met there, and she is the one I'm going to blame for pulling me into the amazing world. And we had a great partnership and a great like-mindedness. So as she started Quench, I very quickly came on board to build it with her. I loved her philosophy and culture and the way she worked.
Thanks, girl.
You're welcome.
I love it. Awesome. All right, Kelsey, you got to tell your story too. All right, what got you into deciding to start an event staffing company?
Yeah, so just like Krista said, we actually met working in a restaurant. I was the bartender and she was the server, and we just immediately gelled. I think we both, Krista and I, have done about 10 plus years in the hospitality service industry. So I had a huge wealth of knowledge. I had done a lot of the jobs. And then one of my best friends was an event planner, and she kept asking me to get other girls to come do these jobs. This was about in 2008. And so it just started to happen. Before I could even think about it, I was providing staff for events. And then it kept happening so many times that I decided to get my LLC. And then eventually I needed Krista to help, and it just really grew from there. It's one of those strange opportunities where the universe just kept knocking on my door, and finally I was like, okay, I'm doing it. And now I can't imagine doing anything else. So
I love it. I love it. I have to give it to you guys running an event staffing company. I was mentored by one when I was growing my company, and was really close to another event staffing company. And if you ever want to meet the people who literally put fires, like they say event planning is putting fires out, like you guys, like having to deal with people not showing up at the last minute, people, quality issues, like, oh my gosh, like people are the hardest part about business, and your guys' business is just people. So I have to give you guys major props.
Thank you for those props. Yeah, we sometimes wish that people were this perfect product that you can put on a shelf. Totally. And it requires instead constant management, but it's wonderful. But thank you for the props. We will definitely.
Awesome. All right, Noha, we got to hear it as well on your end. You obviously went from more of the platform technology side. So what got you into the events industry and kind of starting the event work?
Well, events were in my blood, and I went to school knowing that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I also was working in the restaurant industry, doing marketing and managing a bit right out of college. And it was like burning inside of me the need to get back to it. And so I had the opportunity to go to Groupon, and I grew their events program and experiential marketing program there for a little under 6 years. And then I was just itching to move to LA. And so quit my job and packed my bags and moved here with no job and no home. And yeah, I just had to do it. And so, and so I came out here and tapped into everyone that I knew and had coffee and drinks with anyone that would meet with me. And it was crazy. I had applied to like over 35 different jobs, whether it was blind emails or applications. And I did not hear back from one. And I tell you, I have a killer resume and portfolio, the whole deal. And I couldn't believe how blind and like cold calling essentially wasn't getting me anywhere. And my network was an amazing way to find work. And I've established a really successful freelance business here. And I was introduced to my business partner as a networking opportunity as two freelancers to just kind of connect. And I was kind of going off about how it's insane that there's no platform that exists that connects event freelancers with agencies and brands looking to hire them. And coincidentally, she had just bought the URL and was working on a business plan to create the platform. And so I jumped on board, and we created the EventWork.
I love it. So just to give everyone an idea as far as like I think everyone knows kind of like from an event staffing perspective, like the brand ambassador stuff that Kelsey's doing, but you obviously do something slightly different. So when you're talking freelancers, are these people just working just the events? Or are you talking long-term freelancers? Like what are kind of the people that are working inside that you would find on your platform?
It's a mix. So the type of people that you would find on our platform would be anything from event producers to graphic designers to fabricators and specific specialties. So anyone from a social event to an experiential marketing program, and they could be just your on-site support staff, or they could be a freelancer that you're hiring for 6 months. It varies and based on what your needs are. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Well, I think we're already seeing some questions coming into the chat. By the way, if you are joining us live, smash those questions into the chat. We'd love to see them as they come in. But let's jump right on into kind of the 101, which, I think I said at the beginning of the episode, sometimes you're not sure what the difference between W-9, 1099, W-2, what are these random acronyms? So I'd love to start off the question explaining the difference between the two and kind of what is W-2 from a definition standpoint. I'm guessing from the government standpoint, what's 1099 from the government standpoint, and kind of what's the difference, and are there any differences between them? So Kelsey, I hear you're the expert when it comes to this, so I'm gonna let you jump right in. So let's start with so you guys are W-2 model. So can you define what W-2 is and what that means?
Yeah. We converted from independent contractors to W-2 employees in 2015. And an employee works for a company and they get certain benefits and certain protections, and the company that hires them also pays taxes for this employee. And the definition, there's kind of a list of 10 things that qualify an employee. You tell them what to wear, you pay for their parking, what time to show up. That's really qualifies.
You give them tools, right?
Yes. And especially when it comes to the detail element of your services. So anyone who performs services for you as an employee, if you control what will be done and how it will be done. So for us, we're creating pop-up restaurants, pop-up clothing stores, pop-up activations. This needs to run like a restaurant, like a store, and restaurants and stores have employees. So it's kind of, when you think about it that way, and Noha's business is often our clients are the people that are on her site. They're who hire us. And they're someone who have a business themselves. Their career is being an event producer. If you have your own business license, you're an independent contractor. You can prove yourself as an individual entity.
Cool. And that when you say, so to make sure that we all use the kind of same slogan, that's also 1099 too, correct? Right? Like
yes, independent contractor 1099, employee W-2.
Cool. Perfect. So yeah, so if you hear those terms, independent contractor associated with 1099, W-9s, W-2s is more employees, as we'll call them, not freelancers or contractors.
And from the employee perspective of a 1099 to a W-2, as an employee, when you get paid, the taxes are taken out of your check. As a 1099, your taxes are not taken out of your check, and it is your job to allocate that money per paycheck and annually to pay in at the end of the year. So, if you're paying staff $200 for a job, and the first question we get a lot of times as an employer is, why is it not $200? And then that is the perfect opportunity that you're explaining, because you are an employee and we are taking care of you in advance. So from their perspective, taxes are taken out. They're going to be taken care of on their legal breaks. They're going to be insured. And if anything should happen to them, they are going to be taken care of.
That's awesome.
And as a 1099 employee, you need to make sure you're setting money aside for taxes, or you're a business and you're writing things off to help cover those costs. And then
1099 also independent contractor. Sorry to interrupt you, but just you're referring to the freelancer, right?
Yeah, but as a freelancer, you're technically an independent contractor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. So you need to make sure you're setting aside money for taxes or writing things off. That's, what I've done for years is making sure that you can write things off, like part of your cell phone bill, whatever square footage of your office or house space that you're using as an office, like this right here.
Yeah.
With the beverage cart, right?
Yeah, with the bar cart. You drink.
Goes hand in hand.
And that's why we do video, folks, is so we can make jokes like that. Everyone who's watching audio is like, what are you talking about? I don't get it. But by the way, really quickly before I jump into my follow-up question, shout outs to Melinda Ebert on Facebook, who's joined us. And she says, ha ha ha. I don't know how to quite quote ha ha ha. All events would be easier if you didn't have to work with people, but I do love it producing them. And I think that's we've all know that the most complicated piece is the people. And so I think the goal for this week's episode is definitely to talk about my hope is that there's no real right or there is a right or wrong on how to do it per se, but there's a right place for each one of these. And we want to make sure that we take care of our people in the end. Right. So, so you guys talk a little bit more about W-2 versus 1099. What sort of applications do you think that you talked a little bit about the restaurant kind of style. What do you guys think are the applications where it's okay to use each one of these? What are the common ways you see it? So for example, on the AV side of things, our industry is pretty well This is where I just try not to be biased as I go into this.
Yes.
Well, littered with companies that only do 1099. And it's also found that there's a lot of these freelancers who are also saying, I am used to being 1099. I'm used to being paid this. So they end up setting up their own LLCs, which is like a form of classification of business. They, they're used to sending invoices, all those things like that. But my belief is that that's obviously not the right way. I'm truly trying not to bring my bias into this. So I apologize, guys. Feel free to hate on me. Definitely, what do you guys think are the right ways to do it? And what ways have you seen it done the right way versus the wrong way? So I'm going to kick it over to Noha if you want to kind of start off. Where have you seen kind of the 1099 side of things done really well?
More specifically, what do you mean? Like what part of it?
Yeah, I guess, where have you seen that, we talked about the legality. I think that's one of the biggest issues with this when it comes to this topic, the legal reasons to do this. So, for example, a little bit about the freelancer portion and how you guys are bringing graphic designers in. When do you think it's okay for someone needs to, it's okay for them to do 1099? So we talked about you're not providing them their own tools. You're not. If you want to talk about that.
Well, yeah, when it's a shorter period of time and it's basically project based, or it's, a defined 3 months, 6 months, 2 weeks, and you're not cheating them of benefits and whatnot because it benefits your business. And it's really because they are only working for you for a short period of time.
Okay, cool. So definitely shorter, more confined, kind of decided
project-based, essentially. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like that. Kelsey, what about on your guys' end? When do you think that 1099 is totally okay?
I think for me, the perfect example of a 1099 contractor would be a film editor. I'm going to hand you a piece of film and I'm going to say in 2 weeks from now, I'd like this edited into a 1-minute trailer. I don't care when you do it, what you're wearing when you do it. You're a professional editor. Please just get me the footage in 2 weeks at this due date. That to me is the perfect example, the most ideal example of an independent contractor, because none of the details are controlled and that person is,
working on their own hours.
Exactly. So that's why Noha's business model is so wonderful, is because her clients aren't necessarily saying show up in the office every day from 8 to 6. They just have a list of duties that they can do. And whether they're doing that from a virtual office or whatever, that to me defines an independent contractor. For us, the level of control and detailing, and we want them wearing black shorts and a branded t-shirt and saying hello in a certain way. This in the staffing agency, meaning I'm brand ambassadors, promotional models, bartenders, tray passers, is very controlled. And then I think it would be highly unethical to be hiring freelancers. The reason people still do that from a staffing agency, and there's many staffing agencies that we compete with, and the challenge is they're able to drop their rates really low because they're not paying taxes on their employees. And we're competing with that, and truly they're putting the client at risk because they're not providing the benefits which the IRS does define for us on what you have to do. So traditionally, before 2015, when we made this conversion, everyone that was in staffing thought that they were a freelancer. They still sometimes even operate that way, but they need the coverage, and unfortunately, we just fit really clearly into that employee definition.
Nice. I'm curious, a random sidebar question. Have you seen the industry slowly changing in event staffing for them to realize, the talent you guys would define them as? Are they realizing, hey, this is that they be W-2 and they're more educated on it?
There's some resistance. Initially, there was some resistance from the perspective of the employee because, as Krista said, here the job's $200. Why am I getting paid $175 or whatever it is, probably even less, because of the state and federal taxes coming out. So at first there was some resistance, but eventually, once they kind of were with us for a year, they were like, oh my gosh, my taxes were so much easier. It was taken care of. I cut my finger on a job and I knew exactly what to do, or I had an HR issue and I was really supported in this way. So eventually I think we win them over. But yeah, it's been an interesting transition. And I think that when we work for some of our clients where we need them on the red carpet, the real employee perk comes in from our client's perspective is if anything were to happen, they can't be responsible for 200 staff and making sure everyone has their benefits. So I'm seeing a lot of clients ask immediately, are your staff employees?
Awesome. Krista, you had some add-ons to that?
Yeah, just echoing on what she's saying there. When you do have employees, all those legalities and rules vary state to state. So we're in about 10 different states nationwide, and all of those laws are applicable differently. So it's really important to know what your laws are for your company and for your state. The pitfalls sometimes for the clients is that they're faced against overtime, weekly or daily, if that's applicable in the state. They're obligated to pay travel costs, mileage, and commute pay based on what jobs fall out of the local coverage area. And then they're also obligated to give the employees breaks during a shift. So if they're on a 10-hour shift, they need a lunch break, and so that's where it's beneficial to be employee favorite, and we do protect our employees and we do treat them like gold to make sure that they can excel and do an excellent job for this client. But it's all of those things that reminding that people aren't a perfect product that you can put on a shelf. They are human beings and they do need to be taken care of in order to do an amazing job for you, the client. So that's something that has helped us along the way. And it's also better the overall event experience for the client, even though there's a little bit of a resistance at first in that challenge. They understand, well, by taking care of this employee better, they're going to be a better representative and face for my job.
And they're not putting them at risk by, what's the meal break requirements in Texas? They might be an LA-based company and we can kind of take care of that for them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Krista, I want to kind of follow up to the question I was asking a little bit earlier too, is what do you think are the right case scenarios for 1099?
Similar to what Kelsey said, like a film editor. Also, it's a very unique situation. Maybe they are needing a dancer for an event, a performer-based job for an event, a DJ, or some type of specialty artist, and we always make the joke of the job that we've had to do where it's an aerialist hanging from the chandelier at the entrance, pouring champagne as the person walks through the door. If that particular person that we're going to hire is specifically an aerialist and she's not doing brand ambassador, tray passer, promotional model work, but she is her own entity as a company and she has an employee identification number that we can tax it, she's the perfect person to hire as an independent contractor. So there's more flexibility on the rates and the negotiation there. And then also, we are not liable for that aerialist hanging from the ceiling for the entire event and the venue and all that.
With her own insurance.
She'll be insured on her own. So in those cases, when we're going to do a one-off collaboration with someone and we're not going to work together often and they are legally filed as an independent contractor with their own business, that's the best case scenario to use them.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. Wow, the chat's just blowing up right now. You guys, the questions are awesome. I'm going to get to these very, very soon because these are awesome questions. I want to then flip the side of things in cases where you feel like where W-2, we've talked a little bit about here and there. When do you feel like W-2 is most appropriate? So I'm going to go back over to Noha. When do you feel like W-2 is most appropriate for someone to be classifying their employees?
When they're working more long-term, for sure, and when they are, again, like Krista and Kelsey said, they have very specific requirements and time restrictions and a schedule, and they're repeatedly being booked and working on the same project. And I mean, that's from the staffing perspective, but like if I'm working for an agency for 1.5 years or 2 years and I am working on every single project that they're working on, then I should be covered by their insurance, and I should not have to worry about my taxes, and all of those things are all, really important piece. And to get health insurance. Like I pay for my own health insurance as a 1099 employee, and, that's expensive. And definitely as a W-2, I mean, if you're working regularly for a company, you should be covered on all those bases.
I love it. Kelsey, what about on your end? When do you feel like it's a good fit? Let's start to branch a little bit outside. Well, I know you guys obviously event staffing, but if you have any other examples outside of the event staffing world.
Yeah, I think Noha, you answered that really nicely. If you're committing a long portion of your time, and it's regular and consistent, and we're demanding very specific tasks, then I think that's when they want to be really detail oriented. I think that's the right time to make them an employee. If you really want to invest in this person and have them have their own time to you, then I think that's an employee.
That's awesome. Krista, any other feedback on when you think a W-2 would be great?
I think for me, it's both of the things that the ladies just said. It is specific to the ongoing, the how and the what is going on. That is when you want to hire the employee. And I feel all of those ongoing partnerships, very rarely is it, here's the project, take it and run. So, from either side, as the employee or the employer, if those logistics are nailed down and there's directives, that's a W-2 job. And you just want to be very conscious of that. I think so many people in this day and age are, setting up apps and doing what we're doing right now, webinars and companies and businesses. And so you just want to know what the laws are in your state, because I think that's the way to steer clear of lawsuits and any issues and any people coming back at you feeling that they're being hired in a classification in which they should be given more.
Yeah. And a huge advantage of being a freelancer is that you can work on your own time on whatever projects that you are choosing to be passionate about. And when somebody's restricting you to these specific projects, you have no time to work on anything else, then we can start talking about your, being a full-time employee and being, W-2.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, when you have the time restrictions, then you get the benefits, and when you don't have the time, then you're open. Both have pros and cons.
Yeah.
I love it. I have tons of questions coming in, so I'm going to try and nail these down. Elizabeth Glau on Facebook had a really great question. She's asking, you can have long-term contractors who work with a high level of flexibility, right? One thing I want to definitely preface is that we're all not lawyers and we're all not tax attorneys. So make sure that you talk to yours. But we will definitely try to answer this question the best we can. So what would be your guys' opinion as far as long-term contractors working with a high level of flexibility? Krista?
And this would be specifically in speaking from 1099, correct?
I think this is the Noha question.
Yes.
Yeah, she used the term contractor, so I'm assuming she's talking from a 1099.
Yeah.
So Noha, go ahead.
I think you can be long-term if you have the flexibility. Like, again, if you're able to have multiple clients and work on multiple projects, and you're not expected to be in the office every day. Maybe you're expected to be at meetings and on site for events, or once or twice a week you're in the office, then that's a different story than having to be there every day at a certain window of hours.
That makes sense. I would add into that too, that again, like there's a list, and we're going to definitely link in the show notes. It exists, and it's how businesses should use this. There's a checklist. I believe it's the Department of Labor, IRS, one of the two. You guys are like, yeah, I know the list.
There's the Department of Labor one, and the IRS under small businesses has a really good link to reference as well.
And it's basically a checklist, and you just go down that checklist, and if you're checking like the boxes, yes, they're a W-2, or like I forget what it is. It's like one of the a checklist on what to do. If you end up having not one of those boxes checked, then they're like, for example, it's 10 checklist to verify if they're W-2, and if one of them is not checked, or if one of them is checked, then boom, it's W-2 instantly. Like it's there's very like they have no what do I say? Exactly. Yes. There's no line. There's no gray area in this. It's like
no gray. Yeah.
So my follow-up question, we had another great question coming in from do you guys have any other things you want to add on into?
No, I think that was well said.
Awesome. Okay, so my next question we got coming in from the audience is from Jasmine. Jasmine's asking, why is it important to go W-2? And I definitely have some thoughts on this one for sure. But the question is, why should anyone even care to go after this? And I think we should do it from both perspectives. So let's start with the employer perspective. Yes. Why should the employer care that they're W-2? So Kelsey, you guys made a very expensive decision to go W-2. Yes. Why did you guys care?
Well, We really think that it's in our staff's best interest. We think that the workers' compensation insurance that we provide, in addition to the general professional liability, when you're doing a bartending job and there's a chance you could cut your finger on a lemon or a lime, we want our clients and our employees to feel really safe and really taken care of in those situations. Also, when we go to the IRS, which I encourage everyone or anyone that's listening that has a small business that's kind of wondering where you fit, we checked almost every single box on the list that Will is mentioning. And when we tell you guys where to be, what to wear, all of these things. And so we felt strongly that on second review, we have we have employees. And so we need to make that transition. We want to make sure you guys are getting legal break times and that those systems are designed for you, that travel and mileage cost is paid for, that overtime is considered. And then so that's for our employees side of things. And then for our clients, they really want to feel like they don't have 200 liabilities walking around, that they have well-vetted, well-trained staff, that God forbid something should happen, they have a company that deeply is invested in them, that's deeply invested in their training and their overall well-being, and that we can build them teams. They aren't interested in nourishing the relationship like we want to nourish the relationship. So we felt like it was a really strong argument to make the transition, even though it's been challenging. The benefits for both sides have kind of carried us through the years.
Makes sense. Krista, do you have anything you want to add on the employer end of things?
Just what Kelsey had mentioned about us checking all of those boxes, and especially for people running their own independent businesses, is a big leap to take. But the laws protect your business, and your business protects your people, and your people are what make your business successful. So I think all of that works together in a big circle to make sure that you can grow. And you can definitely try to work around the law, and you can definitely try to get the cheaper bang for your buck or do things differently. And we all want the best deal. But to grow, you have to invest. And that's an investment that I feel was a really smart choice for Kelsey to make for our business.
I love it. Noha, did you have anything you want to add to as far as the employer perspective on why to do W-2?
Not from the employer perspective necessarily, but as far as like the freelancer, like if you are super diligent and you're going to get yourself insurance and you have to have the personality type to be an independent contractor and to take care of yourself and stay on top of making sure you're getting paid and that you have your insurance, that you have all your things in place, you have your accounting really well tracked. And if that's not your personality type, then you should be striving to be a W-2 employee, not a 1099 employee.
I like that. Great. I like that a lot. I'm going to come back to the employee side of things. I want to talk about that for sure too, because obviously a lot of us watching the show are employees versus being the owners of businesses, maybe both ways. But one thing I definitely want to mention, so everyone knows, my perspective, I didn't mention this at the beginning of the show, is that we're a AV production company that obviously went W-2. Similar to what we saw go around in the event staffing world, we saw a lot of warning signs on why we had to go that way, and check boxes, all the things you guys are saying, very much agreed with it. The one thing that everyone should be aware of as well is that obviously the government has realized it's really hard to get, lots of money in different places, right? Like there's a big shortage of money in the government, right? Everyone's looking for more money, how to tax. They're realizing instead of just raising taxes, what they should do instead is get it by getting the taxes back. So what they've realized is that small businesses are all doing this wrong. So the quickest thing they can do is figure out who's doing it wrong and go after them for all the back taxes and then therefore get all the money. So I'm not going to lie. I can't say the name of the company because I think they're still in business, but I knew a event staffing company that got audited. This.
I know who you're talking about too, and I actually know a couple.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a lot, and it was excruciating. They sit in there all day long asking you tons of questions. You have to go back and prove all this stuff, and it's impossible. We all know that we were doing it wrong back then. So it's definitely make sure that you are doing this right, because the government wants your money, and they're gonna make sure that if you're doing it wrong, you're gonna pay for it. So make sure you do it the right way. That means also, now let's flip to the employee's perspective. For you, an employee perspective, they also are going after you too if you are doing the 1099 when you should be really a W-2 as well. So let's go. Noha, you kind of started hitting on it, so I want to keep diving deeper to it, Kelsey, what are your kind of thoughts? What are the benefits to doing W-2 from an employee's perspective as well? We talked about benefits, making sure the insurance is covered. Are there any other things that are like really awesome, I guess, about being W-2? I'm really trying not to be biased. I'm so sorry.
No. And I loved Noha's description of the independent contractor because it's a really, powerful type A personality that should do that, And I think the benefit from the W-2 is that you can kind of sit back and know that some of your tax work and your accounting work is taken care of for you, as well as an entity that which is in our case, Quench Staffing, that is able to kind of package opportunities for you a little bit more. And that things like I mentioned before, your breaks, your travel, your mileage, your overtime, that will be very compliant to your state's system. And, that we have an HR manager that's available that we're constantly consulting with. There was, I think, 11 law updates to employment law in California last year. And so, those are Krista and I and our HR are working to implement those because we believe they're being implemented for your best interest. So yeah, when you're an independent contractor, you can't demand a break. You can't demand overtime because you're not an employee. You have a different kind of contract. So I think those make a huge difference to the employee.
I like it. Krista, anything you want to add on the employee? Or Noha, go ahead. Do you have anything you want to add on the employee side?
I mean, you're absolutely right. Like I commit myself to a scope of work and a fee that I'm going to pay. It's not like I usually personally go by a project fee. I don't go by an hourly fee because I hate tracking my hours. I'm constantly jumping from project to project, as I'm sure many of you watching can probably relate to. But if I'm working until 10 p.m. at night on a project, I'm not getting paid anything different than what I, had already committed to. So that overtime thing is a real thing.
Totally. Unless there was a project that was so fast for you to do, then the flip side would be like, cool, that was actually really easy.
Really easy, and I made good money on it. There are definitely, I personally think that I have been able to be more lucrative in this industry by working for myself and being a 1099 employee than I ever was as a W-9, W-2 working full time.
And also the lifestyle, right? If you want to go on a vacation, you're not
my own boss. Yeah, no one can tell me no. But I mean, definitely, I also feel like I haven't taken a vacation in months because I've been so slammed with so many projects. So it's also managing your own time and knowing. Right. It's up to you. It's all your decision. You can choose what to say yes to and what not to, which I personally love. I'm a creature of working my tush off, and I don't know if I can say money.
Which is why your bar is right by your computer. Yeah.
Right there. I can easily work till 10 p.m. at this desk and grab a bottle of wine and take it down. But I love the flexibility of being able to work from home or being able to work from a coffee shop or I was just in New York for the week last week just because I felt like it. And it's totally this conversation is, I mean, aside from the legality of it, as far as the employee side, it's totally your preference of your work style and your personality type. There is no question that that's probably the number one thing that you should be thinking about when you're making a decision on whether to be W-9 or W-2 and 1099.
Yes. And for the staffing agency world, we do, all of our jobs are, you get you get a text messages from our app. We use an app that says, are you available? And you can always click yes or no. So we're actually in a strange employee land where I think it's freelance styled. It takes a lot of the pros of the freelance saying you don't have to be available. You don't have to book out with us for Christmas. You can just say no to a job. Mm-hmm. So there's some 1099 perks that you get with Quench Staffing and staffing agencies, but then our hope and our desire is that our employees feel the benefit of the employee support that we give them. Mm-hmm. So,
all right, lots of questions. Got to go through them all.
Sorry,
so little time. All right. No, you guys are great. Okay, let's. I want to knock this question out that someone came up with. Where can people go to learn? If they're like, obviously, we've kind of beaten this one with the dead horse, I think, a little bit. But if people want to learn more about the stuff, really quickly, if you guys have any ideas for resources for not necessarily the resource question we do at the end, but where can people go to learn a little bit more about this W-2 versus 1099 thing? So we talked about the IRS website. I posted a link in the chat right now, which will link in the resources. What other places do you guys go to learn this sort of stuff?
The EDD, the Employment Development Department, they have some good checkbox of information as well. And even though it's expensive to do, I think it's fundamental, an employment lawyer. Yes.
I like it. Okay. Also, I think like someone who does your tax, like a CPA, can really help you as well.
A CPA for sure. But if you need further guidance on which one am I really, talk to an employment lawyer in your state, because they will be the ones.
I love it. Noha, what about you? Anything on like the contractor side?
I think the ladies covered it for sure. Like just making sure that you are doing your research. I mean, I think one of our goals too is to start doing some like blog posts and making sure that we have content for freelancers to make sure that they know that they're protected and they have that community. And as we grow out of our nice little beta phase, and we will definitely be doing some sharing and just, I mean, a lot, there are a ton of, for example, oh my God, what Aaliyah is a really great events organization. Just make sure that you're getting into as many community platforms as you can and have that support system, because when you're working alone, it's definitely, you feel like you're on an island sometimes and need advice. And I mean, even this is such a great platform to be able to get educated on.
I love it. I love it. I definitely really excited we did this topic. All right, we got a couple more questions to go. To comment from Facebook, Elizabeth Robb said, many people are craving that autonomy and most companies haven't caught up with the need for flexibility / remote, etc. So I definitely think that we are moving towards this autonomous freelance world. What do you guys see kind of as the future of employment, where we're going? That's a very vague, big question. I apologize. But, you know, we've heard this term gig economy a lot, right? Are we moving to this point where less and less people are working 40 hours a week for one company and working for more? You know, you guys obviously all of you guys are part of companies that people work for a lot of different teams. What are your guys' kind of thoughts on the future of employment?
I will go on rants about this, especially with a couple glasses of wine in me. Like, you know,
quick one here.
The 9 to 5 became, or like call it 8 to 6, became a thing because we didn't have cell phones. We weren't like out of pocket all the time. We are so capable of working from anywhere and getting it done. And so it's really hiring people who you can rely on and know that if they need to work till 1 a.m., but they decided to take a lunch break and work out, or decided not to work, you know, wake up to work until 10, like they're going to get it done. And people want that flexibility. And it is, and not only that, but like not everyone fits every mold. Like, for example, you can go on the EventWork and you can select, I want somebody who's in experiential marketing, who specializes in food and wine. Like, you can hire somebody full-time who has experience in experiential, but maybe most of their experience has been in automotive or in music festivals, and they know nothing about food and wine. Like, but you're stuck with that person and you all have to explore together, right? So the gig economy is a real thing, and it's coming on strong. And I will have to say that we just need to create a lot of process and systems in place to make it so that it's easier to find good people, they're reliable, and we're making sure that people are being taken care of on both sides of the situation.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. And even though we have employees, we still are a gig culture community. Like I was saying, you get a text message on your app from Quench saying, are you available for this job? You click yes or no. It has that gig kind of feel. And I love love the freelance opportunities that are available now. Uber, Lyft, Wag for dog walking, Handy for handyman work. There's babysitting apps. These are all great because you're able to work with your own schedules. You're able to kind of plug in the holes. I think when we talk about what's happening to our society and this millennial generation, which I'm right on the cusp of, so I'm included in this, is that we have kind of an ADD culture. My fear of this is, the good part is, yay, be 10 things. Don't just be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Great. You have interest in all these things, do it. My fear, though, is that there's a little of this jack of all trades, expert of none, or master of none. And that makes me a little sad, because I started this company in 2009. I had to work at it for almost 10 years. And if I had had so many other outlets at that time to kind of, digress and go into to keep financially afloat, and that's kind of my interest, I don't think I would have invested in this as fully. And the rewards that I get now are not to be ignored. Investing in something that you care about and understanding that you need hard work for there to be longevity is really important from a psychological perspective, I think. Even though I love the freelance opportunities, I just don't want to see it get so scatterbrained for everyone that we don't invest,
But don't you think that, like, you did it, right? If I were still working at Groupon full time, I probably wouldn't have the time to focus on building a platform like the EventWork. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this gig economy, is that people can work on things that A, they're passionate about, they can choose what they're working on, and B, they can work on side projects that they're also really passionate about that can be these wonderful businesses.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best part of it. I just worry, and it's because you're really hardworking and you're really dedicated that you do that.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, I just worry that everyone won't do that, and then they'll. So anyway, that's my worry for it. But I think that it's incredibly powerful.
Totally.
Every day you can do something different and still pay rent.
Still pay rent.
That's important.
All right, we have only a little bit of time left, so I have a rapid fire question, which this is not a rapid fire question, so I apologize. So we have a couple questions from the audience that are wondering a little bit about how you guys built up your clients. Obviously, that goes a little bit more off topic, so I'm going to rein it in specifically to staffing related. So it's kind of a two-part question. First, how do you attract employees and independent contractors to come work for you guys? So let's start with that, but then also, so like, how do you attract, the staff to work for you? And then the second question is, how do you attract clients, and how do you know what makes a company better than another? Like some people love to say the W-2 model is better, and that's what makes us different. Obviously, the longer time goes on and more people switch over, the harder it is to be differentiating. But what are your guys' ways that you attract? Let's start with independent contractors and employees to your company, and then follow up with what makes companies different from each other. So, Noha, how do you guys attract staffing to your guys' platform? We do a lot through social media and through kind of actually Craigslist ads, and we try and find all the communities and platforms that we know that freelancers are using to find work. And we just relay the message to them that there is an easier way to do this. Stop being the hunter and be hunted, and give yourself a platform to be found, and feature your work and manage your calendar and publicize your rate. And the way that our platform works is that it's a matching system. So an agency or a brand can go into the platform, create an event, and select exactly the criteria of the freelancer that they're looking for. And then we give them results that are a perfect match for them. So the freelancer can focus on the projects that they're working on and really put the effort in there, and not be done with that job and be like, oh, where's my next paycheck coming from? They already have their next job lined up. They just have to stay on top of, making sure that their work experience is updated and their calendars availability are updated, and so on. I love it. That you made like the hunter versus the hunted. And like you said that. Knowing
I
where
know,
the
I
next
hope
paycheck.
that's your slogan somewhere.
I don't know where it just came from. It just came. I've never said it
Boom.
before.
Marketing brainstorm. I love it. I love it. Kelsey, what about on your guys' end? What do you guys do to attract freelancers and employees to your guys' company? Obviously, mainly employees.
We have an amazing hiring and recruitment manager who's with us full time. Every single person that's worked for my company has been promoted from within, which is really important to us, except for one who's amazing and has come in. But that way she really understands exactly who we're looking for, because not only has she done the job and then managed the job and then booked the job, now she can find new people. But so she's amazing and knows exactly what we're looking for, and we trust her implicitly. And then a referral program. Our client, I did zero marketing until almost last year. And then I finally got to focus on that when I could kind of step away. And that's been really exciting for me because it's something I'm really passionate about. But before then, it was only word of mouth from our clients. And then our staff would say, oh my gosh, I just, at my restaurant, I just met this person and they're amazing. They're total Quench quality. And we would meet them and then they're hired next week. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. Referrals have been wonderful for us.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Krista, what about you? What would be ways that you also...
I think a big part of our recruitment process for employees is that we also use platforms such as People Matter and social media outlets in order to recruit, in which people can go in various states that are looking for work and specify down to what our niche is. And when they come in, we're letting them know that we are a W-2 based company. I think part of the allure to that, especially in our bigger markets like LA and New York and Texas, is that those employees that work for us refer us to other amazing employees, and those employees want to come work for us because our W-2 company supports us, because we have payroll. We always pay our employees on time. They know that they're going to be taken care of. They know that they're going to be, again, we always keep going back to this human being element, but when people feel appreciated and when they feel heard and understood and cared for, they will do more than expected, not only for you, but for the company. And so, and setting up a W-2 business over the last 2 years, I think that's helped us expand twofold, because 4 to 6 states we've done in the last 1.5 to 2 years we've grown in. And that really is our people that work for us say, work for this company because you're going to get paid, you're going to be taken care of, they're going to care about you, and their jobs are amazing. Now, we all know work is work, but if you can take care of and create that kind of culture, I think that's going to help expand always. So for us, that's kind of my point of view.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. We got a couple minutes left, so I got to start wrapping everything up. So we're going to start with the one tip question. So I'm going to make this a 3-part question. I'm going to get 3 tips out of you guys. So I apologize. I didn't tell you guys I was going to do this, but we have, let's do, if you had to pick one tip for event planners, what would that one tip be? Actually, we'll just make this 2-part. What tip for event planners? Maybe people who hire contractors, and then the second question will be, what's your one tip for contractors and employees out there as well? So both the employer and employee side. So I threw a total curveball. For the record, I didn't tell them I was going to do this, so I feel really bad.
Crazy, guys. Here, I'll start. I think with the event planner, just as much as you can know your details in advance so that we can work really specifically to you, that we can go and find that, it's a health-centric brand and they want to find someone who has 11,000 to 20,000 followers on Instagram who's genuinely and organically pumped about health and fitness, and they need to also be 5'9" to fit in a certain sort of costume. And we want those specs, we want those job descriptions in advance. Everything that you can give us in advance, getting on the phone with us, so we can really be casting directors and find you the right person. All of our clients get virtual casting links where they're able to hand pick the team that they would like to work with based not only off of photos, but also on resume blurbs. So letting us dive in as soon as possible is great. And in terms of the contractor, I would say your word matters. When you tell me you're showing up on time, you've read the training docs, you came, you're ready to work hard and play, I need you to actually do all of those things. And the person that shows up to every job, no matter how small, that can just be flexible and the client needs them to move and no problem, I got it. Those are the kind of people that eventually I see them graduate from Quench because they've moved on to something and they have incredible success in their life because that's who they are. They take everything on fully. And I that is my favorite kind of person to meet. So
I can feel the passion from over here.
I love it.
all
It's
hands.
radiating.
All hands.
Noha, what about you? What would be your one tip for event planners or people that hire employees? And contractors? What's your tip for contractors?
As an independent contractor, I think that it's really easy to get excited about an opportunity and just say yes and jump in. And I think it's really, really important to make sure you have a super detailed scope of work and contract and make sure that your payment terms are very clear and you're protecting yourself so that no one is walking into the situation with a different understanding of what the expectations are than the other. I think it's really important to also make sure that freelancers are staying on top of their portfolio and collecting testimonials when they're done with a job, and just doing a really good job of managing your time. I think those would be my biggest tips. And then a tip I would give as far as like the accounting piece of things as an independent contractor, there's an amazing app called Expensify that I love. Because I don't keep receipts. I'm terrible at it. So it's really easy. You just take a picture of your receipt and it uploads it and you can classify it as whatever you need to based on projects. It's a really awesome app. And
I'm downloading that right now.
It's amazing. Invoicing is a great platform for invoicing clients. And again, it tracks all of your invoices for the year. So I literally can just export a report on both platforms really easily to give my accountant at the end of the year.
Is that B invoicing? What?
Invoicing, BEE invoicing. And it's an app.
Cool. I love it.
I love it. Both of those things were two huge lifesavers when I first started freelancing.
If you're looking for alternative expense files, I also recommend Receipt Bank. I use a lot, too. So I choose that to actually take all my invoices in and automatically parse them into my accounting accounts payable. So fun tips. We're not on resources yet. We gotta wait. All right, Krista, what's your one tip for event planners and one tip for employees and contractors?
Yes. So for event planners, as Kelsey said, we love details for our events. A lot of times the staffing portion of the event is the last piece of the puzzle coming in. When you do need that piece of the puzzle filled, the best thing for us is when you have those core logistics nailed down, i.e. date, time, location, job description. That is where we have a slew of rates and a rate range that we work from, and we really love to build ongoing partnerships with our clients and deepen the collaboration. So really knowing your core elements of what your ask is so we can get you the best quote possible, because if you engage us too soon when you don't have those logistics or you're not clear on the logistics, you can't give an accurate budget to your client and your team. So really nailing those just core elements down for us. The rest we can get as it comes in. And then the secondary tip of the advice on a one is don't be afraid to staff up for your jobs, and don't be afraid to really, if you think you might need 5, 10 staff, don't be afraid to book 12 to 14 because you really want to create that experience for your guests. And there's so many experiential activations these days and so many tech devices and launches and products. And it's really better to have enough bodies on the floor than for your guests to feel strained at your experience. So
yeah,
that's a big one. Good one.
That is huge. As an event producer, I have clients who be like, no, we don't need that many people. Cut the budget. But those people and those faces that are smiling at you when you walk into an experience or an event are huge.
Yeah.
It really is. Those physical human beings are really what make an experience really positive, and you walk away having the warm fuzzy.
20,000 people are coming through a music festival or a concert or a sporting event.
Directional people is so much more better than signage.
Exactly. And
Go
then
that way.
exactly. And to the employees and to the staff, I think for me, it's communication. We're all people. We are all having a life. Everybody has things going on from job, personal, etc. And just really being the type of the person that communicates what your needs are, what you can give and what you can't give. That's really going to develop your relationship with your employers and your clients. If you're a communicative person and the client needs something from you, what Kelsey mentioned, that flexibility, just to be present for people and show up and be willing to do what their needs are, as long as they're within the job description, is really what's going to set you apart from the rest as a person, and it's going to catapult you in all areas of life. But that communication, what can I do to help you? How can I support this event? Do you need anything else? I cannot be at this job. I think I can be at this job. I don't know if I can be at this job. I would, just communicate. That is the number one key for me to successful relationships.
Yeah, we'll get texts saying, I woke up 2 days ago feeling a little ill. I just wanted to let you guys know maybe someone could be on standby for me. We love that, because then that's someone who's so responsible versus the 5 minutes before I don't feel well. So, yeah. Communicate.
Okay, so on to my favorite question ever, which is the resources question. So we've already named a ton of resources related to IRS checklists, Department of Labor checklists. We'll link those all down below. Expensify, e-invoicing. What other sort of resources do you guys have that are your favorites? Books, blogs, all those sort of things. Not allowed to talk about the ambiguous item that I'm not allowed to speak of. That was used as an example. Therefore, you'll have to go back to episode 20. I figure out the episode that was mentioned, but mention anything you guys want right now. So this is your guys' chance. So go ahead, guys. What resources do you guys have?
So we use Slack
for
as
communication.
our team communication. That's huge. We use a staffing software that we love called Ubeya, U-B-E-Y-A.
It's amazing.
Good. Thank you.
Wait, can you spell that one more time?
U-B-E-Y-A.
And you can book your staff, release your staff, send all the logistics and details you need, share updates, and then from the user end, they clock in, they clock out, and then they
get geo-tagged in an event, so it's very specific.
And you can do payroll straight from that database too. So it's amazing.
Yeah, we really love them. And we use a contracting service called PandaDocs, which we love, which we've directly linked to our website. Our new website will be out in a week. And it right now it still works. If you go to the Staff Your Event page on quenchstaffing.com, all of the questions we ask you auto-populate into a PandaDocs contract that then has a little column that you can chat back and forth. You can pay on there. We linked it to Stripe. So that's really, really efficient for our clients. What else, Krista? Zoom. We use Zoom all the time. We love that you guys use this. We do for our clients virtual training. Noha, this is what I was kind of talking about doing, where we all sit and we record it, and then we can send that to our staff. We have a reading retention problem we have found with some of everyone. And so now we create a lot of videos for trainings and try to summarize the 60-page deck into a 5-minute video, and it's effective, and you can watch it from our Ubeya app.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Krista, what resources do you have?
So we share all of those resources, but my secondary thought on resources that you're tapping into and you're utilizing on your desktop or your laptop, we are all on the go. We are in a day and age of being on the move. So whatever you do use in terms of your workflow, whether it's any of those apps, Google Docs, Sign Now, electronic things to scan, put those on your smartphone. Make them touch friendly. Categorize your business apps. I have on all of my notes copy and pasted responses because we're so on the move all the time. And again, that communication, customer service, client experience. If I'm on the move between meetings and I get an email, I can copy and paste an answer or a link or something so that they can get their needs met without having to wait on my daily schedule. So really tapping your smartphone into everything you use in your business and creating shortcuts so that you can be a faster responder is what really also elevates your client experience and your team experience.
Yeah. Sign Now, that app she mentioned, an eye scanner app. That's really, really important. And the last one that I forgot was an app called Monday, which is like a virtual team sharing to-do list.
I love this app.
We love that one too. So those are our resources.
Wow. Okay. So Sign Now, I'm trying to get these all into the chat for everybody. And then you said monday.com, right? It's called?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Sign Now, monday.com, Slack,
eye scanner.
iScanner, Ubea.
And PandaDoc is no S on the end. It's pandadoc.com.
Yeah.
I love PandaDoc. All right, iScanner.
And then I have like Google Sheets, Google Doc on my
Google
phone.
Docs, swear by it.
I have Google Doc.
I have Stripe. Stripe was in how we accept payments. Make a mini office on your phone. You have to be able to respond.
Ditch the clipboard.
Yeah.
I love it. One thing I was going to recommend, Krista, you mentioned how you copy and pasting things, follow up. I've mentioned this in the past couple episodes, Text Expander, TEX, Text Expander. And it basically, you can type a short code. Like, for example, I commonly have all of our addresses for our offices, and I forget what they are. So I type PHX for Phoenix, and it automatically turns that into my Phoenix address.
Oh my God,
I need that. Write it down.
I think we're going to be here a while listing resources, guys. We got a lot of them. So yeah, Text Expander. Highly recommend that. I use that on a daily basis for things like, for example, like our brand color green. Instead of having to remember the hex code, I just type whatever. The common is like using a colon beforehand. But yeah, Text Expander. If you check it out, their website does a better job explaining it. But if you write the same things over and over again, it saves you time.
And having a code to even not have to copy and paste is better, because all of that shorthand is phenomenal.
So where it amps up to the next level is you can do it'll like, for example, it'll just copy paste over, but then you can put blank spaces where you need to fill it in, and it'll pop up just like a form, and you say like, fill in, like, if the first person's name, fill in, their email address, fill in this, and then boom, and it automatically puts it all into there for you.
Oh, I love that.
That's like the next level of Text Expander. So, all right.
I have a more formal version of that called Simple Forms, and it's for basically, they can do many types of forms. It's a startup, but they do all of the like W-9, 1099, all of that. Anything from like a Jimmy John's who has hundreds, or it's actually, I forget what it's called, but tons of employees to event staff. And it autofills all of your forms with the information that you have. It keeps it secure. We're actually hoping to integrate their platform, or we're planning to integrate their platform into the EventWork and have that be kind of like our phase 2 of the platform, so that all the paperwork and business management things that you need are all a part of our system.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Any other resources, Noha, that you want to share?
I did have another one. It was Simple Forms. I told you about Expensify, invoicing I love. The EventWork.
There you go.
Find work on the EventWork.
There you go. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. Wow, that was all the questions. I was like ferociously typing all the resources down. If you missed these resources, they're going to be linked in the resources down below. If you're in the live chat right now, they're in the chat. I pasted all the links to them. But if you are watching this recording, they're in the links down below in the blog post. So go check those out for sure. Wow. What an episode. We went a little bit over time, but I think it's because there's so much to cover. There's so many questions still in the chat that still are unanswered. So I think this is definitely a meaty episode that everyone got a lot of value from so much. So Noha, Kelsey, Krista, thank you so much for being on this show today. It was just so fantastic to have all of you here today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, really, really. This was really fun.
So much fun. I love it. And I told you, the hour goes by faster than you think.
Yeah, seriously.
So for everybody watching right now, don't leave quite yet. I got some cool things to share with you guys. This is our second week in a row using our new platform, so you can watch live at event-icons.com and immediately get taken in to watch. No more download anything. We have a completely new chat platform, everything like that. We heard your feedback, and we have put it there for you guys so you can tune in immediately without having to worry about downloading Zoom. You can watch on your phone and on your laptop, wherever you want to go. And you can even cast it to your screen if you have awesome casting abilities like a wizard. So if you want to too, feel free to join us on Facebook Live. We do the behind the scenes as well. And if you didn't know, we're also have an awesome Facebook group, and where these guys will be hanging out in after the show. So if you have questions that you want to know about them, just go to event-icons.com, sign up. You'll get an email with an invite, and you can find these guys and ask the questions right in there, and the chance to interact with the icons events industry every single week. Also, we're posting exclusive content, additional interviews, all inside that Facebook group, so go check that out for sure. And then, as always, if you're looking for another way to watch, you can check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spotify, pretty much anywhere podcasts are, on Google Home, Alexa, shouldn't have ever said her name, we are going to be there for sure. So go check it out. And then let us know too. We want to know what topics you want to hear about. And this was a topic that that viewer submitted. So, these dreams do come true, and the topics do come true. So let us know what you want to know about, and we will do an episode about it for sure. So, all right, guys, it is way past our time, so we must get going. Once again, thank you to our amazing guests. Thank you to the listeners. And we will see you guys all next week on Event Icons.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of #EventIcons. To catch the transcription and all of the resources mentioned, head to www.helloendless.com/blog. This week's episode will be posted and available by next Tuesday. Also, let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Share your biggest takeaway.
And join the social conversation. Sponsored by Little Bird Told Media.
Just tag your post with #EventIcons. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on #EventIcons.